It took me a while to get my setup ready, but we're finally here. So I've had a couple of you guys asking about how I record guitar stuff. I'm by no means an expert, but I can show you what I know, which is not very much. But what I can mostly show you is, even if your guitar tone is not great, you can still make it work in the context of what you're making. As long as you use your ears, and you use your brain, and you got your heart, you're going to be fine. So there's different ways to get guitar sound, right? To get a guitar tone, normally you just plug in your guitar into an amp, and you're thinking, how do I record this into my computer, get it into a recording software? You would need a microphone. Typically a Shure SM57 is like the go-to microphone that just works, you know, workhorse mic, and a stand and a cable, you know, and you would link that up to an interface to get that into your computer. The signal chain would go from your guitar into this amp, and then out of the speaker of the amp into this microphone, through this cable, and into an interface like this or this. And then it would go from that interface into your computer, where you would work on the sound in your DAW, right? Like, just imagine that this guitar track right here was mic'd up and recorded. Which it wasn't, but just imagine it is, right? And you have a guitar sound. And then you can work on it like that. Another way, in my opinion, the cheaper way to do it would be to either get yourself one of these, and you can use a software plugin to change that direct input signal into a distorted or clean or delay. You can add effects to it, essentially. So now Le Cab is a software that simulates amplifiers, pedals, and stuff for free. This is the free version. So if you don't want to spend any money, I would go with this and use your ears, figure out how to use it. If you do want to spend some money, you've got something like this, Neural DSP Archetype, or Joey Sturgis Tones, make some cool Tone Forge stuff. There's all kinds of different software you can use to simulate an electric guitar signal. Either way, you're going to probably have to settle with an interface. You know, maybe something like this, and then using something like this, like Le Cab, as a plugin on your track to simulate some amplifier stuff. To go back to what I use, which is this Avid 11 rack here, it actually comes with a software called the 11 rack editor, which I'll open up now just to show you some of it. Please work this time. Will you work or will you not? Oh, yes. Thank you. So with this 11 rack editor, you can take your guitar tone and shape it however you want. So this is your signal chain right here, right? You got a distortion pedal, which is basically just a Ibanez tube screamer. You can see I've got some EQ on there already. So you can do a lot of processing on your tone in the box already. Maybe I should play something. Yeah, like show you how this works a little bit. With my settings being what they are, I just thought this was a cool tone to jam out to. And as you can hear here, it sounds pretty bad by itself. But when you add bass guitar to it, and then you add some drums to it, it just all melts together and sounds okay. So don't be afraid to experiment with guitar tones, right? Now let's get to the basics of guitar tone, how I make guitar tone. What I'm looking for in guitar tone is just something kind of like meat and potatoes in the low end, you know, like when I palm mute, you can hear that bass a little bit. And then you also want that high-end note definition so that when you go into the single notes, you can hear all the articulation and stuff like. Yeah, so that's like my metal tone. You want everything to be subtle. Like little moves on little plugins make a big difference at the end, right? Let's see if I can just turn off just the reverb. Hear how much that changes the tone, the vibe of the sound. That's just no reverb. If I add it back in, when you make a tone, you want to be very deliberate with what plugins you're using when. Reverb creates a bunch of space. Removing it completely makes it sound tight and harsh. I added a little compression, but if I remove it, this makes those palm mutes a little more aggressive and in your face, right? Okay, that was a free ad for Marshall that whole time. All right. Yeah, so when you're building a tone, start out with just your amplifier and cab or combo, whatever it is. Formulate your tone around this. So let's just start with everything at 0. So let's just shape a tone together. What I'm using right now is a tread plate modern or something. It's just a modern metal amp. And then the 4x12 with classic or the vintage 30 speakers in it. This just sounds to me like the most metal. And if you look at their metal presets, this combo is technically like the most metal combo that 11 Rack has. So when you're looking through your software, if you have one, there's going to be all kinds of different amps. Like for now, we're going for a metal tone, right? But you can go with plexiglass, blues, all kinds of things, cleans, crunches. But for this, we're going tread plate modern, baby. And microphone for now, this is like the miking setup. So this is simulating if you were to mic up a cabinet. And how this works is you can pick your microphone here. You can pick whether it's on axis, meaning whether the microphone's facing directly to the sound source, or off axis, whether it's like, to the side of the sound source. So you're listening to me from over here. So you can kind of pick that, so it shapes your tone a little differently. So it's pretty awesome. You have a lot of customization. But for now, let's focus on these knobs. Like these are super easy looking, right? You just turn up the master for volume. Oh, I got volume, yay. Let's just try to get a tone now. So we're gonna boost the mid almost like 80%, let's say, because no mids. Sounds like it's under a curtain or something, right? Mids all the way up. Sounds super like in your face. So we're just gonna boost those mids up. We do want some bass. Bass. Nice, it sounds beefy, but maybe a little too beefy. Let's just tone it down a little bit. Nice, not bad. All right, now we need some treble, right? Like we don't hear any top end or pick attack. Oh, I'm starting to hear fizz. Let's turn that down. Okay, so now we got like a basic sounding. We got a basic crunch tone. Once you have that basic crunch tone, this is where you start turning it into a metal tone. Or highway to the metal zone. This is where you start turning up the gain and seeing where it starts to break up. Let's see what happens if you turn it up all the way. That's way too much. So no gain. Hear that sustain? It barely sustains. Turn that gain up. And no lasts forever, right? So you kind of want to like temper that, if you will. You want to balance that out. Now presence. This is what's going to give it that extra lift, that extra high-end boost. So let's go for some big presence. I want that big energy. So now at this point you have like a basic tone. Let's see what happens here if we change this from a condenser mic to a dynamic. So the 57, this is what I was talking about, the SM57, right? This is what it would sound like on axis. Let's see, off axis. Nice. Yeah, so it sounds a little chunkier, right? But still has that same quality. And then you got your condenser mic. And then ribbon mic. Oh. Let's go with that because that sounds heavy. So here we have distortion pedals. They have all kinds of different pedals, but for now I'm just going for the classic green tube scream. What I'll do with this is actually turn the overdrive down because we already have kind of enough gain. But I want the tone up because I want that extra lift. I want more lift. I want even more. And you hear how it's starting to gent a little bit because it's like you're turning that on and off because that kind of tightens up the low end. Like that's metal as right, but then this is gonna like start to gent you into that gent zone a little bit. This is literally an equalizer, so you see at 100 hertz, I'm cutting out a little bit of bass. I'm leaving this the same. I'm adding a tiny bit of mids. I'm adding a tiny bit of that high screech. This, I don't know why it's so high. I wanted more pick attack, I guess. Yeah, so it's starting to get there, man. And if you add some reverb to that. Yeah. So that's how I make guitar tones, man. Let's go for maybe like a chunkier, sludgier tone. Like. So it's like weird as heck. It sounds weird, but it's also kind of cool, right? So that's the thing. Experiment with stuff until you find something that you think sounds cool in the context of everything. Don't be afraid to make experiments. You know, experiment with your tone, experiment with your mixes. You can see, like, I EQ the crap out of these guitars. And maybe I should go over that a little bit, like what I use on these. Like if I played this and I just increase all the stuff I cut. That's a nightmare, right? So what I'm doing there, my basic understanding of EQing guitars is just taking out stuff that you don't like as opposed to adding a lot of stuff that you want out of it, right? So you want to get your tone a little set up before you even record. You want to make sure you have enough pick attack. You want to make sure you have enough like thickness, you know, so that eventually you can just cut stuff that you don't like out of it. So right now, I'll show you what I did here. What I do is I take an EQ and I notch it out. I'll use the notch function and I'll tighten up that Q super tight, and I'll just go hunting. Like there's a bad one. You can hear that, right? And there's a really bad one. So I'll notch that out. And then let's see. Hear how gross that is? How nasally and boxy that is? This would be a good one to take out too. You can hear that, right? Anything that sounds gnarly and nasty when it's isolated like that, you can kind of cut out. Like you don't want to hear that the whole time while you're listening to a song. It's tiring on the ears. So I'm just going around frequency hunting and just taking out stuff I don't like. And then when you do that 1,000,000 times over all of your tracks, eventually you end up with something that sounds slightly better than what you started with. Like even these lead parts, like what is that by itself? And together with this, That is atrocious. I haven't even gotten into like multi-band compression and like all these other tricks that I haven't even learned to do yet. So there's a lot of things that I still have to learn how to do, and I will learn how to do them. Yeah, that's the basics of my understanding of guitar tone. I mean, if there's anything else you guys want to know, feel free to ask me in the comments or join the Discord, link in the description. We'll talk about stuff there, how to do music things, and you can post your own music and share stuff if you want. I want to get a community vibe going where we can just help people make the music they want to make and make covers or make their own original stuff. It should be fun. And I stream games here too at nighttime sometimes, and follow my Instagram for shenanigans. I have 2 accounts. I have my musical account and I have my Platty Daddy account, which is for my fish. So I don't like bombard you guys with fish stuff all the time. Yeah, I'm working on Stone Emperor 2 as well. That should be fun. And I've got another couple of other projects in the mix that I think are going to be really cool. I'm really excited to share with you guys. But yeah, anyway, hope that worked for you guys. Take care and like and subscribe. And see you guys in the next video.